Cursing is a perfectly legitimate storytelling device if you use it sparingly. Some of the things Jesus said to some of these Pharisees, referring to anyone even loosely tied into the Levite system, a whitewashed tomb, or that they have mouths like open graves. Well, that goes over like a pregnant pole vaulter every time. You could drop 1,000 F-bombs and they would say boo. But go up to someone and say, your dad's the devil? That would probably get you an appointment with the prefect. But the truth is, the congregation needs to take some onus for this too. It's usually the elderly who support the church the most with tithe. One or two couples who have their whole lives just been servant-hearted who vacuum the church, cleaning the bathrooms, maintaining the grounds, and stepping in when childcare doesn't show up. Why? Again, it's a community. It should operate like a community. This city would fall apart if people... No, I'm not even going to use that as an example. The city's already falling apart. So my friend starts to walk over towards the car to tell his son, and one of these big fire guys grabs him by the arm and says, you stay right where you're at. And I was hearing this on the phone, so I heard some shuffling around, and then I heard, and unless you're on the phone with the police department, hang up. And so I heard click. And the next time he called me was about 15, 20 minutes later. He'd been fingerprinted by the police. And his words to me are words I will never, ever forget. He said, so JJ, can you do me a favor and ask your God what the hell I'm supposed to tell my son? I didn't hear from him for about a year until the trial started. When you get a question like that and you're not a pastor or a minister and you're not used to people asking those kinds of questions of you in the moment, he called me over her body. He didn't even have the presence of mind to call the police yet. He called me because we had been working through the scriptures. And this was a guy who went to University of Washington Medical School. He wanted to provide a service to people to cut the part of the brain where God lived out for them. That was a tough time.
And you look at Western society, and they seem almost desperate, and I think they are a bit desperate, to grasp onto some kind of sense of importance. People want to know their lives matter. It's part of human nature. You don't want to de-emphasize the importance of the individual and the decisions and the choices that the Bible doesn't do that. Mm-hmm. But it says you have to put yourself in context, that your identity is not purely autonomous, standalone. That part of your identity comes from your culture. It comes from your people group. King David, sure, very strong individual. Moses, strong individual. You look at all of these biblical characters, if all you've got is community, when the community starts falling apart, the identity is gone.
We tend to tie our closeness with God to how many sins we're struggling with. I'd like to get down to one, before next New Year's. In essence, what you're telling God is, in this situation, I'm a little bit screwy right now, but come New Year, I'm going to make a couple of resolutions. I'll be a lot closer to sinlessness, and you'll have to listen to me. It's a backhanded way of manipulating. I imagine all God's doing is rolling his eyes, going, okay, you get less sinful, and I will have to listen to you. Fair enough. I'll see you in a year, I guess. So this is all happening, the siege, in 70 CE, but in 68, you have Yochanan ben Zakkai, who's here, and he wants out to negotiate with the Romans. Well, of course, everybody inside they're having none of it, including his nephew, who's the leader of one of the factions. The interesting thing about that, the request for a doctor, is that a lot of rabbis say about this era, it was easier to find a Messiah in Jerusalem than it was to find a doctor. This one I got the other day was actually a little bit, it was disconcerting. Someone asked, JJ, what do Christians say to someone who has lost a child? That's a difficult thing to answer, but I can tell you what you don't say. And I actually heard this said once. Don't say, God knows how you feel because he lost his son. God did not lose his son. Like, Jesus was gone for less time than most people are gone on vacation. God doesn't know how you feel because he lost his son. He knows how you feel because he created the chemical bath that transports your emotions and feelings around. I don't think James understood the Pandora's box he was opening 2,000 years later, particularly for guys. I used to have a friend I went to church with who made me his accountability partner. He comes up to me one Sunday, pulls me aside and says, "Listen, JJ, I've been porn free for a year, and I fell off the wagon last night." I mean, like back in the day, I used to throw my hands up in the air and scream unclean as loud as I could. But he's a friend. I don't do that to friends, obviously. But he wants something, like a verse or a lecture, but I'm not giving him either. I'm just trying to fill dead, awkward space. Let's do this one. JJ, would an openly gay couple fit in church? Would an openly gay couple fit in church? Well, I'd have to look at the blueprints. Smaller churches that are full, probably not. But most churches, yeah, you can fit right in between the gossip squad and the guy who's going to drop his wife off at the store to go look at porn after church. Everybody's welcome, all walks of life. In legal terms, binding and loosing means to make a law more strict or to relax the law, depending on the situation. In the time of Jesus, the Romans were in the backyard of Jerusalem. So 37 steps outside of your door on Shabbat could put you right inside of an enemy camp. So there's some loosening of halakha, the law. This is why Jesus says, "Woe unto you, scribes or scholars or legal professionals, experts in the law. You bind a man down with the law," which means to put something, a yoke on his back, without lifting a finger to lighten the load. So Jesus is acknowledging that there is a precedent for binding and loosing, and in some cases it needs to be loosened. So nothing to do with Cadillacs and blessings, nothing to do with, arresting Lucifer. I don't even know how you would bind him, to tell you the truth. I mean, he says to bind the strong man, but how the hell do you do that? He is, after all, a strong man. Something, I don't know, tempered steel forged in the fires of